Hello student, good morning. Myself Sri K.D. Borse sir, biology subject teacher. Today we are going to learn 11 science biology subject syllabus content chapter number 6 biomolecules. In this chapter content we learn in today's lecture carbohydrate is one of the biomolecule, classification of carbohydrate and biological significance of carbohydrate. So let us start today's first concept, carbohydrate. You know, carbohydrate is one of the biomolecule, a compound of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, have general formula as CnH2nOn, called as carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is one of the compound contain carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, have general formula as Cn, carbon 1, hydrogen 2 and oxygen 1. So CnH2nOn, such general formula compound called as carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is one of the biomolecule made up of three elements, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. General formula CH2n bracket N, hydrogen and oxygen same ratio like water, 2:1 means 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen like water. Hydrogen and oxygens, a ratio seen in carbohydrate. Carbohydrate broken down or oxidized to release energy in the form of ATP. Classification of carbohydrate based on number of sugar units. Carbohydrates are three types: monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide. Here noted three different types of carbohydrate. Single sugar unit carbohydrate called as monosaccharide, two sugar unit called as disaccharide and many sugar unit called as polysaccharide. So on the basis of number of sugar units, carbohydrates are three different types: monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide. We learn one by one. First one is monosaccharide. Monosaccharide is one of the type of carbohydrate in which a simple sugar cannot broken down into smaller units. Such carbohydrate called as monosaccharide. A type of carbohydrate in which a simple sugar, such simple sugar cannot broken down into smaller units. Such carbohydrate called as monosaccharide. What are the characteristics of monosaccharide? Monosaccharide is simplest sugar, crystalline structure, sweet taste, soluble in water. They cannot further hydrolyze into smaller molecule. Always remember, monosaccharide cannot further hydrolyze into smaller molecule. They are building blocks or monomers of complex carbohydrate. Why monosaccharide is building block or monomer of complex carbohydrate? Because number of monosaccharides condense together to form a complex carbohydrate. So monosaccharide is building blocks or monomer of complex carbohydrate. General formula CH2O bracket N means 1 carbon, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. Up to this here 6 characteristics of monosaccharide. According to number of carbon atoms, monosaccharides can be classified as triose 3 carbon compound, glyceraldehyde, tetrose 4 carbon compound, erythrose, pentose 5 carbon compound. Example, ribose sugar in RNA and deoxyribose sugar in DNA is 5 carbon compound. Hexose 6 carbon compound. Glucose is one of the hexose 6 carbon compound present in blood sugar. Fructose is also 6 carbon compound present in fruit sugar. Galactose, a product of lactose, is also 6 carbon compound. Heptose 7 carbon compound. Pseudoheptulose is an example of 7 carbon compound. Here listed 3 carbon compound, 4 carbon compound, 5 carbon compound, 6 carbon compounds and 7 carbon compounds. So according to number of carbon atoms, monosaccharides are classified as triose, tetrose, pentose, hexose and heptose. Glucose is a monosaccharide 6 carbon compound. Seen here structure of glucose. You know glucose general formula C6H12O6. Here complete structure of glucose 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen and 6 oxygen compound. Glucose is an important fuel in the living cell. You know, inside the living cell, glucose is oxidized to release energy. So glucose is an important fuel in the living cell. Human blood has about 90 milligram per 100 ml blood. This is the normal human blood range of glucose. Always remember, human blood has about 90 milligram per 100 of blood. Due to small size and solubility in water, glucose pass through the cell membrane into the cell. Glucose is metabolized by cellular respiration to release energy. Inside the cell, glucose metabolized with the help of oxygen, called them cellular respiration. At that process release energy in the form of ATP. So glucose is metabolized cellular respiration to release energy. Up to this here, glucose is one of the monosaccharide 6 carbon compound. Galactose is also one of the 6 carbon compound. It is similar to glucose molecule, exist in alpha and beta form. Glucose and galactose combine to form disaccharide lactose. One glucose molecule and one galactose molecule condense to form a disaccharide molecule known as lactose. How to form lactose? Glucose and galactose combine to form lactose. Glucose and galactose cannot easily converted into one another. Always remember, glucose and galactose cannot easily converted into one another. Galactose cannot play the same role like respiration as glucose. Up to this here completed. Galactose is one of the monosaccharide 6 carbon compound. Now we learn fructose is also one of the monosaccharide 6 carbon compound. It is a fruit sugar. It is ketohexose, but it has a 5 atom ring rather than the 6 atom ring. This is the most important characteristic feature of fructose. Is ketohexose, but it has a 5 atom ring rather than the 6 atom ring. Fructose combine with glucose to form disaccharide compound known as sucrose. How to form sucrose? Fructose combine with glucose to form sucrose. To this monosaccharide is here completed, a type of carbohydrate. Now we learn disaccharide is also one of the type of carbohydrate. What is disaccharide? Disaccharide is also one of the type of carbohydrate made up of 2 monosaccharide units. They can hydrolyze into monosaccharide called as disaccharide. If 2 monosaccharide unit disaccharide is hydrolyzed to form monosaccharide, so such structure called as disaccharide. Disaccharide is soluble in water. This is the characteristic feature of disaccharide, soluble in water, cannot pass through cell membrane by diffusion due to their larger size. You know, monosaccharide smaller size easily pass to cell inside through the cell membrane, but disaccharide cannot pass through cell membrane by diffusion due to their large size. Disaccharide broken down into small intestine during the digestion, means at the time of digestion in small intestine disaccharides are broken down into monosaccharides. So such monosaccharide then pass into cell by absorbing in the blood. So this is the most important. Disaccharide is not directly enter into the cell. So disaccharide is broken down in small intestine during the digestion and convert into monosaccharide. Then it pass into the cell by absorbing in the blood. Examples of disaccharides: sucrose is a disaccharide, lactose is also disaccharide, maltose is also a disaccharide. Sucrose non-reducing sugar, lactose reducing sugar, and maltose is also reducing sugar. Two monosaccharide react by condensation to form disaccharide. In simply, 2 monosaccharide combine to form disaccharide by process of condensation. Here seen diagrammatic representation. This one is a glucose molecule C6H12O6 plus another glucose molecule C6H12O6. These two glucose means monosaccharides react by process of condensation to form disaccharide. This is the disaccharide compound. A glycosidic bond present between monosaccharide units. See in here diagrammatic representation. This one is a glucose molecule and this one is also a glucose molecule. These two glucose molecule combined together by glycosidic bond, means in between two monosaccharide present bond known as glycosidic bond. Up to this here disaccharide is one of the carbohydrate completed. Now we learn third type of carbohydrate known as polysaccharide. What is polysaccharide? It is also a type of carbohydrate made up of many monosaccharide units called as polysaccharide. You know, monosaccharide made up of only one simple sugar unit. Disaccharide, two monosaccharide unit combined to form disaccharide. Many monosaccharide unit made up of polysaccharide. Monosaccharide undergoes a series of condensation reaction to form a very large molecule polysaccharide. Such process called as polymerization. What is polymerization? Polymerization is a process in which monosaccharides undergoes series of condensation reaction to form a very large molecule called as polysaccharide. Such process called as polymerization. Polymerization process में number of monosaccharide molecules एक दूसरे को अटैच होके a large molecule polysaccharide बनता है, so called them such process polymerization. Polysaccharide are broken down by hydrolysis into monosaccharide. Polysaccharide is one of the large molecule contain number of monosaccharide. So अगर उसको broken down किया जाता है तो हाइड्रोलिसिस प्रोसेस से broken down होता है पॉलीसैकेराइड कंपाउंड, और जो स्मॉलर यूनिट बनते उनको हम मोनोसैकेराइड बोल सकते हैं. सो पॉलीसैकेराइड आर ब्रोकन डाउन बाय हाइड्रोलाइसिस इनटू मोनोसैकेराइड्स. एग्जाम्पल स्टार्च, a polysaccharide compound, glycogen also, and cellulose also polysaccharide compound. We detail discuss starch, glycogen and cellulose. So first one is starch, is one of the polysaccharide carbohydrate. It is completely insoluble in water. This is the most important characteristic feature. Starch completely insoluble in water. Stored food in the plant. Inside the plant, starch is a stored food material. Starch exists in two forms, amylose and amylopectin. This is the most important. Starch exists two forms. Amylose is one of the starch and amylopectin is also one of the starch. Both are made up of alpha glucose. Amylose, unbranched polymer of alpha glucose, and amylopectin, branch polymer of alpha glucose. So here listed characteristic features of amylose and amylopectin starch. Up to this here completed. Starch is one of the polysaccharide compound. Now we learn glycogen is also one of the polysaccharide compound. Glycogen is stored food in animal body. Glycogen is stored in liver and muscles. Always remember, glycogen is stored in liver as well as muscles. When glucose is needed in the body, glycogen is hydrolyzed to produce glucose. जब बॉडी को ग्लूकोज की ज़रूरत होती है तब inside the liver or muscle contain glycogen is hydrolyzed to produce glucose. So such glucose is most important for production of ATP energy. Up to this here completed. Glycogen is also one of the polysaccharide compound. Cellulose is a polysaccharide. Cellulose serve to form cell wall in the plant cell. Always remember, cellulose present in cell wall of the plant cell. It is polymer made up of beta glucose molecule. Polymer molecule are straight. These are the much tougher than the cell membrane. Polymer cellulose is present in cell wall, much tough or tougher than the cell membrane. Means cell membrane से भी tough cellulose होता है. Why it is very much tough? Polymer cellulose arrange of the glucose unit in the polymer chain and hydrogen bonding between the neighboring chain gives toughness. So cell membrane से भी tough होता है cellulose because arrangement of glucose units in the polymer chain and hydrogen bonding between the neighboring chain gives toughness. Up to this here completed. Cellulose is a compound of polysaccharide, and here also completed. Polysaccharide is one of the carbohydrate. Now we detail discuss biological significance of carbohydrate. What are the biological significance of carbohydrate? Number one, carbohydrates supply energy for metabolism. So ATP is most important for organism. So ATP is produced from, most of ATP produced from carbohydrate. So carbohydrates supply energy for metabolism. Carbohydrate is main substrate for ATP synthesis because a single glucose molecule produced by process of aerobic respiration 38 ATP molecules. So carbohydrate is main substrate for ATP. Lactose, a disaccharide present in milk, provide energy to lactating baby. जो बेबी मिल्क सक करता है वो बेबी को मिल्क से लैक्टोज मिलता है. सो लैक्टोज इज एनर्जी प्रोवाइड टू लैक्टेटिंग बेबी. Polysaccharides serve as structural component of cell membrane and cell wall. This is also a biological significance. Polysaccharides serve as structural component of cell membrane and cell wall. Polysaccharides serve as reserve food as starch and glycogen. You know, starch is reserve food of plant and glycogen is reserve food of animals. So here noted different 5 biological significance of carbohydrate. Today's lecture here completed. Review today's lecture topics. We learn carbohydrate is one of the biomolecule. Classification of carbohydrate, you know, there are 3 carbohydrates: monosaccharide, disaccharide and polysaccharide. We also detail discuss in this lecture biological significance of carbohydrate. On the basis of today's lecture, some exercise question noted here, MCQ questions. Number 1, in carbohydrate we come across hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio 1:1, 1:2, 2:1, 3:1. Yes, the correct answer is C, 2:1, means 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. So correct answer C, 2:1. Identify fruit sugar: glucose, galactose, fructose and sucrose. Yes, the correct answer is fructose is fruit sugar. So C, fructose, correct answer. General formula carbohydrate: CnH2nO1n. Here CnH3nOn. Here CnH2nOn and here C1nH2nOn. The correct general formula of carbohydrate is CnH2nOn, means 1 molecule of carbon, 2 molecule of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. So correct C option. Short answer question number 1. Which 3 elements made to for carbohydrate? Yes, there are 3 different elements made to carbohydrate: hydrogen, oxygen and carbon. Why monosaccharide are called as building blocks or monomers of complex carbohydrate? Yes, the correct answer is number of monosaccharides are condensed together to form a large molecule of polysaccharide compound, and such large polysaccharide compound known as complex carbohydrate. So monosaccharides are building blocks or monomers of complex carbohydrate. How many carbon atom present in ribose and deoxyribose sugar? Yes, there are 5 carbon compound present in ribose sugar and deoxyribose sugars. What is polymerization? Number of monosaccharides, a series condensation to form a very large polysaccharide. Such process called as polymerization. What are the 2 forms exist in starch? Yes, there are 2 forms exist in starch: amylose and amylopectin. Up to this, here today's lecture completed. Hope that you understood everything.